Become a patron at www.patreon.com/Golden Era Bookworm for hard to find books, scans of rare photos, and articles on the golden era of bodybuilding. Hi everybody, Golden Era Bookworm here. Today I once again had the great pleasure of interviewing Instagram sensation and Australian natural bodybuilder Joel Kellett. At the audience's request, I did a Q&A with Joel today, asking him many questions which you, the audience, wished him to address. Today, I queried Joel about his training methods, his strength capabilities in the gym, both in the bench press and in the squat, things like training intensity, his body part split. Joel also gives an insight into his diet in much greater detail, his type of protein shake, and to him, actually, in his own opinion, in his own words, what it means to be a natural bodybuilder, as well as more about himself as a person. Enjoy. So, and we got a Q&A today. I've had well over 100, comments, of which some I'll skip, but from here, from the fans, there's a whole heap of questions for you, and I'll just go through them if you don't mind, and you can answer.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, let's do that.
You can answer what you like. You don't have to answer because some of them are a bit weird, but anyway, here we go. First question is from, I won't go through each name, but anyway, someone asks, could you ask if he does pullovers for expansion of the rib cage? Do you actually do any rib cage expansion work?
No, to be honest, I don't. I rarely do pullovers. We do have now, at one of the gyms I train at, there is a pullover machine that I've used a few times. I really like. Dumbbell pullovers, I don't do that often at all, to be honest. Very rare that I will do that exercise.
Cool. And the same person asks, he says he trains twice a day, but could he elaborate on how that works? As someone like Dorian Yates trained way less to produce way more effective results.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've had a few people direct message me about my thoughts on that style of training only 3 or 4 times a week, or doing, say, full body splits 3 times a week, and why it is I train twice a day, and what does that frequency look like. So an example of what I would do would be, let's just say Monday or day one, I might do legs in the morning and chest in the evening. On the second day, I might do back in the morning and shoulders in the evening. And on the third day, I might do triceps and calves in the morning, and biceps and abs in the evening. Mm-hmm. So it's typically a 3-day split, and then I keep repeating that split as often as possible without any rest days. And I only take a rest day if I feel that I really need one.
Yeah.
Which is, to be honest, I don't take many rest days. And the reason why I train so frequently and so often is because I love it. It's not for any other reason, actually. It's not necessarily that I think I'm going to, gain more. Actually, oftentimes I think maybe I could gain more muscle if I had more frequent rest days, or, went off a 4 or 5 day split. But this has worked for me. It's, in my opinion, worked very well. And it's, I think, more so because I genuinely love training, more than me believing that it's going to give me the best possible results. I just want to train again. So yeah, I do that as often as possible.
I understand. But on that, see, a lot of people have difficulty understanding, as you said, the frequency, and I think it has to do a lot with intensity. Would you say your intensity fluctuates during the week, from maybe half of the week training less intense than the end of the week, or vice versa? Or let's say you were mentioning you do your particular body part. Let's say today you're doing legs and chest. Does your second leg and chest workout of later during the week, is that lower intensity, or do you vary your intensity?
I wouldn't say the intensity doesn't vary. The weight might vary. It just depends how I feel when I go in. When I start, I always start with a couple of warm-up sets, and that's my gauge if I'm feeling like quite stiff or tight, then that day, it's not that the intensity decreases, it's just that I might not do as much weight as I did the last session. I'm not going to be pushing the most amount of weight. Instead, I will maybe reduce the weight and do more reps, shorten the rest periods, superset, drop set, things like that. I still keep every single session with I still every single session is still trained with the highest amount of intensity. It's not I'm not that strategic about it. I just go in and train as hard as I can, regardless of how heavy I can lift that day.
Yeah, cool. Okay, another question. What is a great tip for vascularity? This person.
I feel like I'm the wrong person to to answer that. I don't consider myself a very vascular person at all, actually. I'm probably one of the least vascular people I know. So unfortunately, I don't think I'm one to give any advice on improving vascularity, but I do know as far as vasodilation goes, blood flow, getting good pumps goes, tomatoes and beetroot seem to work wonders for me. I usually try and have like either tomato or beetroot in my pre-workout meal, and I always tend to get really good pumps. I do tend to look a little more vascular, but that's just blood flow rather than actually being a vascular person. I think that's predominantly genetic too.
Yeah, genetic, or if you're enhanced, I guess. That's kind of where it comes out.
That definitely seems to make a difference, yeah.
Yeah. All right. This person wants to know if you squat, and if you do, as in, I'm assuming back squat or front squat, the rep ranges that you would use.
Yeah, I do squat I used to squat most leg sessions. Now it's probably every, second to third leg session I'll squat. And I don't go very heavy on most exercises. I don't go very heavy. There's days where I can come in, I'm only going to squat two 20-kilo plates, like, 45-pound plates side, but I might do, 30, 40 reps. Other days I might do two plates aside, or upward of maybe 50 kilos aside, and reduce the reps to somewhere between sort of 12 to 15 or 20. But if I do squat, I'm usually finding myself doing anywhere up to about 10 sets, because I on any exercise, I always do a couple of warm-up sets, but legs, I want to really take my time. It's the one place I really don't want to end up with any injuries. So I do maybe even up to like 5 warm-up sets when I squat, and then do 4 or 5 working sets.
Yeah.
So I spend a fair bit of time.
I can understand that. The older you get, mate, I'm telling you, those, especially around the knee joint, all those little tendons and ligaments really take a while to warm up.
Yeah. It's beyond me why people go into the gym and load up. I mean, regardless of what exercise it is, they load up the weight, thinking. I get the mentality behind it. Like, okay, I'm fresh. I haven't exhausted myself doing anything else. I'm just going to try and press as much weight as I can. But I think you're asking for an injury if that's your approach. Take time. I spend upward of 15, 20 minutes warming up sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm not feeling it. I can always get into the workout, but that might mean I'm going to have to do a few extra warm-up sets.
Yeah, I agree. How to build upper chest? How do you build your upper chest?
Incline presses. I really like the Smith machine. If you have a good Smith machine, something that's really nice and fluid. There's some gyms I go into, the Smith machine is obviously hasn't been lubricated in about 10 years, and in that case, do dumbbells or a barbell, free weights. But I avoid the incline machine presses. I really don't like those at all. Regardless of how contracted my scapula is, I can't get as good a contraction if I'm doing dumbbells or like a Smith machine.
Yeah.
So definitely any incline press, and I actually take a wider grip approach to doing presses, especially with bars. If I do flat barbell, incline barbell, or even Smith machine presses, my grip isn't very narrow. It's a little wider than I think most people go, and that's because I come all the way down. I let the bar hit my chest, and the stretch is almost like the wider you go, it kind of emulates almost like a dumbbell, like an incline dumbbell
Yeah.
fly. That kind of stretch. To me, it feels amazing. So
Yeah.
any incline press, that's the key.
Yeah. Another person asks, your definition of natural. Do you consider the use of testosterone as natural, seeing that it is a natural occurring hormone?
No, I don't. It's a naturally occurring hormone, but what people are injecting is a synthetic version of that. So no, I
Correct.
don't. I know. I think someone else had asked me this in the past, or I read it in someone else had posted something of me, and I was reading the comments. And what someone considers natural is another guy's unnatural these days. But what I mean is that I don't take any drugs. And I think I said this in the last video. And I hope whoever asked that is watching this, so that or anyone watching it can understand my definition of it. What I mean by natural, I mean I go to the point of not taking any supplements. Even part of that is just to prove the point that you don't need anything additional in order to at least achieve a good or even great physique. Hard work and perseverance, I think, is going to trump that. So my definition of natural is not taking any sports performance enhancing drugs at all. I don't take, and in saying that, I don't take any illicit drugs. I don't take any medicinal drugs, like whether it be over the counter or even Panadol, anything. I don't take anything. Nothing, nothing at all. If that answers the question.
Yeah, that answers it pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny to me that people are even trying to redefine the term. Like, to me, it's very black and white. If you take anything additional, anything at all, other than whole foods, in order to achieve a particular look, then I would say that you're not natural. That's it. To me, it's very black and white. I don't know why there's over the years has become some big gray area or define natural. I think it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So, go on.
But I hope it answers the question.
Oh, yeah.
What I define natural as being.
That's cool. Another person asks, if you train twice a day consistently, as mentioned in the previous video, so this person has actually watched the previous video, how does it not compromise your endocrine system?
I think anyone, I mean, I don't want to say for certain because I'm not a scientist, and I'm going off my own experience. It's not something I started doing, so I had to work up toward it. But I have a very sedentary lifestyle. I can understand maybe from the perspective of someone that does a lot of labor-inducive work that kind of thing wouldn't work, and it would be very detrimental to them. Could even cause atrophy rather than hypertrophy. But like I said, this is based off my experience, and I can only speak for myself and everyone else that I've had do it. But I know that it's something that unless you try and try it wholeheartedly and commit to it and persevere through it, it's definitely something that can be done. And I don't think it's detrimental to you whatsoever, as long as you're recuperating properly, eating enough and sleeping enough. And I had someone else message me about this. Maybe it was a comment. Yes, it was a comment. Someone that had said they'd been training 21 years and didn't, they had admitted to taking steroids, and they're saying, but I still didn't look anything like you. I still would love to have seen, there's a whole number of different variables too, like training intensity, how much rest they're doing, what they do for work, what they're eating. You can eat absolute crap, get very minimal rest, but train with, insane intensity, train twice a day, and you're still not going to, reap the rewards or get the same results. I think the recuperation is just as important as the frequency and volume of training.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a
So
stimulation.
yeah, to answer the question, I don't, you know, just because science says so doesn't necessarily mean it's true, because they're not going off something pragmatic. They haven't tried it themselves to the best of their abilities. It's more assumption based. These are predictions. They're not. It's not something that's been tried and tested. So I can speak on. I can say for certainty that it's not going to compromise anything, because I think I'm walking testament to that. I'm doing
Yeah.
it. So unless you do it, let's just try it before you
Yeah.
think it's going to be detrimental, I suppose.
On that, I want to ask you a similar question myself, because I know you offered me the training plan and nutrition plan, which I thank you very much. And by the way, everyone,
Okay.
you can get a customized training plan and nutritional plan from Joel. It's on his website, morethanmuscle.com.au. Just a little ad for you.
Thanks,
And
man.
it will follow up with your questions and anything you need to know. I thought it was very well structured, as I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
It's got that real old school flavor. But before I tried it, remember I told you I really wanted to try it next year. I'm bulking up, and I initially was working out 4 or 5 times a week just to start getting that frequency in, and then try and slowly adapt to the 6 day a week workout, which you had sent out for me. And I want to ask you something myself. I found that I was getting sick, as in I was getting a little cold. It would start after 2 or 3 days of straight training. I would start
Yeah.
getting a bit of like a runny nose. And if I trained through it, it would get worse throughout the week. And by the end of the week, I'd have a full blown cold. Has that ever happened to you? And if it has, how did you get over that? Because I find that as soon as I start increasing my frequency to over 2 or 3 days of training straight, I start getting a cold. And that's why I've never really gone to that point. And I want to, I really want to, because I really push it in the gym as far as my
Yeah.
body will let me, um, you know, but I just, my body can't seem to actually, or at least my immune system can't seem to cope with it at this point. Is there anything I can do that you would recommend?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because like I said earlier, there are so many variables as to why someone isn't performing to the best of their ability. Um, and I've had this conversation with even friends of mine. They say they can't, that's something they can't do. And I think that's why, you know, what's the word? That's why, I guess, in other words, like taking your time is important. So if you do start to feel that way, I still do believe that you should have a rest day, or even 2, or even 3. Don't, in that circumstance, that's when I would have a day off too. I wouldn't try and push through it. That's what I used to do in the past, and I would feel worse. So I
Yeah.
don't encourage anyone to just push past it. You're fine. That's not necessarily the case. You can be doing more damage than uh, than you are doing good. So, but it's very hard to say. Like, it might be even worth people getting blood tests or whatever it is they need to see exactly what the root cause of this problem
Yeah.
is. Because I personally don't consider that to be normal, given the fact that I know what I do, training nearly 14 times a week. The fact that my mate Brock can do it, I have another mate Will that can do it, another mate Kurt that can do it, and even a friend of mine, Kurt. He has a very labor-inducive job. He still makes time to train every single day, and he trains consecutively. He trains with incredible intensity, maybe more so than me sometimes. So I know this is just my opinion, but I don't consider that to be. There's something else. There might be an underlying issue. Other
Mhm.
than that, it's something that you have to work up to.
Yeah.
So if it means training once and having 2 days off, so be it. And then when you feel ready again, the worst thing to do is to try and train through it, then feel worse and have a week off, and then have to try and get that ball rolling again.
Yeah.
Train
I,
when you feel good enough to train. then take a rest day if need be, take 2, take 3, train again. At least find some consistency rather than pushing yourself to some absolute breaking point, then having to have an extended period of time off. I think that's worse. But yeah, that question's a tough one to answer. There can be, like I said, so many variables.
Yeah, I agree. You have mentioned in the past that this has taken you, at least you said 5 to 6 years to work up to, because I've read your Naturally Transforming book, and you said initially you also didn't train much. You used to maybe train 3 or 4 times a week, and then you started to train eventually 2 days on, a day off, 2 to 3 days on, a day off, until you eventually could work up to 4 straight days, 5 straight days, and now 6 straight days, and now almost indefinitely.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it took me a long time, actually. For the first, it might have been even the first 3 to 4 years, I'm pretty sure I trained maybe 5 to 6 days a week, but just once a day. I didn't train any more than once a day. I didn't start doing 2 sessions a day until, sorry, 1 second. I'm just trying to find a PowerPoint. I didn't start doing 2 sessions a day until maybe my fifth year of training. And that came with a much better attitude and mindset than I'd ever had in the past. And it was only because I was looking more into, what Arnold and a few of those other guys did in the 70s and 80s. And I was really intrigued by it. I thought, I did wonder for a while, was it just the fact that they were taking steroids that they were able to train that often or that frequently? Now, I have to admit, I can't do what Arnold did. Was, at least in his competitive years, trained twice a day, 6 days a week, but every muscle group was trained 3 times, so it was a 2-day split.
Yeah,
that I tried that and I can't do it. I see that for me personally, I could not recover. If I trained with the kind of intensity I wanted to, by the time I went to train biceps again, they were in agony. There was no way. I knew I would just be, and I felt like, I think I did it for like maybe not even a month, could have even been a couple of weeks. And I felt like I was just losing muscle, So I think surely to some extent, people are going to react differently. And then you had Dorian, who trained only 4 times a week. I think there's many different roads to get to the same destination, and it is what works best for you. But it's something. If you wanted to do that, train twice a day, every day, it's something you have to work up to.
Yeah.
You don't, that's why even when someone purchases a training program from me, I take into consideration their training experience and even their perceived training experience, because 5 years into training, I still felt like I knew nothing, So it was almost, I felt like 5 years into training, I was almost starting from scratch in a way. Like that's when I really started to try and sort of push and test the limits of my body. So that's why I take that stuff into consideration, because I'm not going to give someone a program whereby having them train twice a day every day if it's something that they're so unaccustomed to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, we've got some other questions here. Nothing training related. This person actually wants to know more about you as a person. What music do you like?
It's kind of a funny question, because nowadays when you go into a gym, you're sort of forced to listen to music that you might not necessarily like or enjoy. I think over the years, having worked in gyms for like the last 5 or so years, it almost feels as though I'm getting over music completely. I don't know what it is I like or dislike. I just seem to want it off. That's at the point I'm at. And I even just recently, I was asked. I finished maybe doing a PT or something the other night, and there was no one else in the gym. And another guy training there said, because I work at the gym there, he goes, why wouldn't you be turning the music up? Taking advantage of having no one here. You can just play whatever you want, just cranking it. And so I couldn't think of anything worse. If I had it my way, the music would be off completely.
Yeah.
I like to train without any music, so I don't wear headphones or anything. And I don't tend to listen to music much at all, which kind of sounds sad, I suppose. But my taste in music, I guess, would be described as easy listening. Anything that's just nice and easy to listen to. Nothing too heavy, but then again, nothing too soft. It's just easy listening.
I think it goes with your persona, mate.
Yeah, I suppose so.
And that whole thing about not listening to music is actually very old school, because if you were to walk into Vince's gym right now with headphones on, he'd probably kick you out. So
yeah, I hope so. I personally don't understand the having to constantly listen to music, thing. It seems to me like a distraction from.
Yeah, it is. I agree.
Yeah.
To me, I see it as the same as those. No offense to the girls, or anyone that's on a treadmill. You see those people watching TV while they're training,
Yeah.
or listening to something when they're on a treadmill on a bike. Well, if you're there to train, I say train and concentrate on your training rather than scroll on the song you want to play. I mean, where's your mind at? That's how I see it.
Yeah, right. I remember I've trained with a few guys in the past, or at least not necessarily trained with them, done an entire session, but just jumped in on the exercise they were using. And I was doing lat pull down, and I'd finished a set, and I said to this guy, you're going to do a set? It's your set. Someone I know, like friendly enough with, and he had his headphones on. He goes, "Oh, sorry, man. Like, give me a sec. I've got to pick the song." You had to wait to pick the song you wanted to listen to in order for him to train.
Yeah.
I think at that point, you're probably not that interested in training.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If I was you, I would have jumped in while he was choosing his song.
Yeah, I think I did 3 sets in the time that he did 1.
There you go. Yeah, that sounds about right. It's just crazy. The same person asks, TV shows. Do you watch much TV? And if you do, what shows do you like?
I don't watch much TV either. To be honest, I like trash TV. I like reality TV. I don't know why.
Okay.
I do. I really enjoy it. I think because to me, it's more. I'm more interested in seeing, how people act and react without having a script. To what extent it's believable is, I guess, subjective. But yeah, I don't know why I find that to be really entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much stuff like, I'll give you an example of something I wouldn't watch is something like Geordie Shore or something. The melodramatic reality TV I'm not particularly into, but there's a few shows here and there that I occasionally get sucked into.
Cool.
Yeah. But I don't watch too many series. I finished Breaking Bad. I didn't mind Breaking Bad. I watched that. And geez. I'm trying to think. I watched one of the series on Netflix. It was called You. I don't know if you've heard of it.
No.
That was somewhat interesting as well. But yeah, I don't watch too much TV. I watch a lot of movies though.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah,
on
like
movies.
me. I watch movies only, and then occasionally. The last 2 series were also Breaking Bad and Stranger Things. Since then, I haven't watched anything.
Yeah, I did get into Stranger Things. I think I watched the first season, but I didn't continue watching it after that.
Yeah, I like them.
Reason.
I really like them because they're so old school. They remind me of my childhood.
Yeah, it would. Not my childhood, but I still enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other hobbies besides what you already do?
That's hard to say too, because I genuinely love training. That's a very good. I sound like a boring person. Sounds like this is all I do. I don't know if you'd say I have other hobbies. Actually, not so much anymore, but I do consider myself somewhat artistic. I used to like to draw a fair bit, but I haven't done that in a while. That's something I'd probably like to do again.
Cool.
Yeah, I have a very artistic family, a lot of artists in the family. So it's something that I've been surrounded by, and I do like it, but I just haven't found the time to pick it up again.
Yeah, well, you're working on yourself as an art form, so I think that counts.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Right. This person asks if you can specify your training split, diet, and carb intake. Well, you've already mentioned your split earlier, so what about your diet and carb intake?
My diet is very simple. It's very simple. There's not a lot of ingredients either. Like, every day, or at least every meal is quite consistent. Like what I eat every day is almost the same thing every day, consistently year round, because again, I really enjoy it. I eat a lot of eggs and a lot of steak. Well, usually now I have maybe steak only once a day. I think honestly, really any more than that is excessive. Probably the amount I'm eating is excessive, but I really enjoy it. So I have steak every day. I have white fish every day, occasionally salmon, and a lot of vegetables, a little bit of fruit. I have fruit after every workout, so twice a day I have fresh fruit. Usually I'll try and have a fresh fruit salad, and in that will be, pineapple, banana, maybe blueberries, things like that. And what else? Lately I've been having a fair bit of turkey, actually. I don't have much chicken, no chicken. I definitely don't have any chicken breast. I can't remember the last time I had, chicken breast and broccoli. To me, that's disgustingly boring, and
Yeah, it is.
I don't know
Try.
people. Yeah, they think that's the answer. It can be interesting. It can be tasty.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be. People think to eat clean or to eat well, it has to be boring.
Yeah.
Which isn't the case. My meals, to me, they're extremely enjoyable. I found things I like. My only other carb source, other than the vegetables and the fruit, is white potato. I don't really like sweet potato. Doesn't really sit well with me, so I actually have a fair bit of white potato. I've got some cooking now, actually, that I'll have before I train again.
Cool. You mentioned
to
a lot of
elaborate.
eggs.
To elaborate, I have anywhere between like 5 and 6 meals a day, and 2 of those meals, to use the term loosely, are shakes, which I will have, stuff like eggs or egg whites, spinach, and a bit of fruit that I'll blend up. And sometimes I'll have those after a workout if I don't have the fruit salad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I saw it I saw it or read it, that your shake is like 4 eggs. Is that right?
The shake?
Yeah. That you have.
If I'm not too fussed about my body fat, then I'll have 6 whole eggs. And if I'm trying to, sort of watch what I eat, so to speak, it'll either be egg whites, because really my philosophy is not mixing carbohydrates with fats.
Mm-hmm.
I separate, I have fatty cuts of meat with vegetables, and that to me is a meal. I don't include any carbohydrates in those meals. And same applies with, the shakes I have, usually because they're after a workout. It'll be more often than not just egg whites and fruit that I'll blend together, maybe with some spinach. But if I don't use the term off season because I'm not really necessarily competing, but if maybe I'm trying to, put in that extra effort to gain a bit of size, then I'll just have whole eggs. Because there are actually, if you look at the micronutrients of eggs, which, I mean, these days no one seems to give a crap about, but if you do, within the egg yolk, really good fat burning properties themselves. So it is beneficial to eat the entire egg. I totally believe in that. But it's more so just to cut the total amount of food I'm eating, then I might take the yolks out of some or even all of the eggs and just have the egg white. So at least I'm getting some protein.
Yeah. So if you're eating, let's say when you're not necessarily worrying about getting defined,
Yeah,
shake with 6 eggs and you're training twice a day, you're basically eating up to a dozen eggs a day.
more than a dozen because I'll have eggs at breakfast as well.
Wow. So what, a dozen and a
Yeah,
half, would you say?
yeah, yeah,
There you
roughly.
go, peoples. Eat your eggs.
Yeah, a lot of eggs.
Yeah.
Not so much at the moment. I'm not having a lot of whole eggs. Still having egg whites, and I have eggs in the morning. But at the moment, I won't be having any more than a dozen a day at the moment.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe about 8.
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm seeing on at the moment. A lot of people ask that, especially on my channel, seeing that I don't know if you've seen the videos on the 36 eggs a day that I
Yeah,
made.
I think it was a comment I saw
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
regarding this Q&A. I did read some of the questions that people wanted to ask, and I think I saw someone say something about 36 eggs a day.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Vince Gironda's very famous diet. Um, yeah, it was based on a study in 1975 where he found that burn patient victims had accelerated skin healing when they ate 36 eggs a day because of the positive nitrogen balance in their bodies. And
Yeah.
so, and I've read a lot since then. You had people like Bob Guider and Don Howarth actually eating 36 eggs a day as well, to bulk up, and yeah, they bulked up. And so I guess Vince seeing all of this and speaking to medical doctors as well, the medical doctors that he spoke to stated that it would be equivalent to a very mild Dianabol cycle. And remember that mild back then was maybe 5 milligrams a day or something.
Right.
So that's how the whole statement came out from Vince, which was that 3 dozen eggs a day was equivalent to a mild steroid cycle. And when I picked up on this information, I made a video on it. It went viral, and there was a lot of talk over the next month. This was last year about that diet, and everybody seems to be asking about it now. The moment you mention eggs, everybody's like, this and that, 36 eggs a day.
Yeah. I can understand why, especially when they're finding some correlation between eggs and steroids. I think a lot more people are going to start consuming a lot more eggs, aren't they?
Yeah, well, the study back in 75 was on burn patient victims, and the treatment before the egg diet for burn patients was actually administration of Dianabol.
Right.
Dianabol was actually used to accelerate the healing in burn patients initially, and this was during the experimentation by early bodybuilders in the 60s, and that's when the doctors, when they found out that the 36 eggs a day on burn patients was as good as Dianabol, they got them off Dianabol and they put them on 36 eggs a day instead.
And that seemed to deliver the same result.
Yeah, at least for burn patient victims, which, they need it. But then, of course, Vince took it to another level, and, he tends to oversell things, I'll admit,
Yeah.
And he stated that therefore it would work for bodybuilders.
Mm.
And I would say that, maybe it would. I've tried it actually once. I've tried 24 eggs a day, and I did gain quite a lot. I've never done the full 36 eggs a day, but
It sounds very excessive. I think that
yeah,
would make me very sick of eggs very quickly, I imagine.
yeah, I think it would make a lot of people very sick.
Yeah.
If they were, well, depending though on how you take it. A lot of people believe that you're supposed to just drink them raw. You're actually
Right.
supposed to make a shake out of it. So,
Right.
and I think when you do
Make
it
a shake.
properly, sorry?
Make a shake out of 36 eggs or, multiple shakes over the
Multiple
course of
shakes.
the day. Okay.
So you're supposed to
36
actually,
egg shake would be disgusting.
yeah, no. It's supposed to be taken throughout the day, and you're actually supposed to incorporate it over time. It's not, a lot of people think you jump straight into it, and it's not that, and you just buy 3 dozen eggs and you just take it straight away. No, it's more like the first week or first 2 weeks you take a dozen. Then the week after that you build up to, so 3 or 4 weeks in you build up to 2 dozen, and by the 6th to 8th week you're taking, your full 36 eggs, and it's actually a mixture. You make a shake with a dozen eggs, with cream, with milk and egg protein, and maybe some flavoring or a banana. And so that's how you're actually supposed to ingest it. I'm pretty sure that if people were to just take it raw, it wouldn't be a very pleasant experience. But when you make it into this shake, it actually tastes like ice cream. A lot of people say so.
Yeah. Are you familiar with, I wonder what the equivalent would be in, say, like America, but we have in Australia Boost Juice, like these places. They make basically just somewhat healthy smoothies. But the shakes that I make after the gym, which I would recommend to anyone, to me it's delicious. It tastes like a Boost Juice, which is just eggs, maybe anywhere between 4 and 6 eggs, frozen mango, and banana and spinach. It is something genuinely in the day I look forward to. I can't wait to have it.
Yeah, see, that's my point. So a lot of people believe that the egg diet, you're supposed to just drink the eggs straight, which is
right.
No. You're supposed to make a nice shake out of it with fruit, and then it actually tastes really good. So when I read your books about how you basically drink an egg shake after your workouts, that's kind of where I thought, so you're actually doing something not exactly the same, but along those lines, and it's quite interesting to see.
Yeah, that is interesting, because I had never heard of that.
Yeah.
It's interesting to know that it had, and for obvious reasons, it had already been done,
Yeah.
I'm not coming. That's what I do say to a lot of people. Like, it's strange to me. The things that I do, the way I eat, and the way I train, to most people is unorthodox, which to me is strange, because I'm not doing anything new. I'm not even reinventing the wheel. It's literally the same wheel, the same thing they did in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, even 80s.
Yeah.
Even up until the 90s, and then in a small and short period of time is when I think bodybuilding in general was skewed quite drastically with the introduction of coaches and what one person believed was suddenly gospel, and then everyone followed suit. But this stuff that I'm doing has been, tried and tested and documented for, decades. But people think it's not going to work. It, to me, blows my mind that they think it's weird or something, or why don't you just have whey protein? Well, all right, I don't know, For me, it's common sense.
I agree. A lot of people, when I do my egg shake live in front of people, because sometimes I haven't had any time. And so I'll just buy some milk from the shop, some eggs, and whatever. And I've done it, in a gym or something, and people just watch me and they're like, "What are you doing?" Like, I'm making a protein shake. And they're like, "What? Why don't you just drink whey, just like you said, like everybody else?" I'm like, because this is more natural. This is what they did back 20, 30 years ago when there weren't any supplements, and it works. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It works. If the guys back, like in my opinion, the 70s and I would say 80s, for me was the pinnacle of bodybuilding, because whatever it is they did, well, more so the 70s when supplementation, there wasn't very, supplement heavy. And from what I've read and seen in interviews, not even the guys that promoted the supplements were taking the supplements. They tasted terrible. They didn't believe they genuinely worked. It really was not so much as it is today, but it started off as a gimmick, and I think it's continued that way. But I would say there's particular supplements that work in a way, like they genuinely do supplement what they're supposed to be supplementing. But then there's a number of things that are just honest to God bullshit and should be avoided at all costs. But back then, at least they admit now that, yeah, it was mostly, mostly a money-making scheme. It was all a gimmick. And they still ate what it is that I'm eating, like you said, like they would have an egg shake or blend up something, maybe using milk or milk powder and stuff like that,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, moving away from milk and eggs, as much as we love to talk about these things. Next question. Will you ever make a YouTube channel?
Yeah, I have one. I just don't have any videos uploaded onto it.
Yeah. It's Overkill, isn't it? It's the same name.
Yeah, it's the same handle as Instagram.
Yeah. So there you go.
I would definitely upload something soon. I just want to get a bit of content together. I don't really have anything.
Yeah. Best way to develop the lower chest without access to a dip bar.
Best way without access to a dip bar, because I do dips every chest session. I love dips. So I mean, that's a good question. I don't know how you wouldn't have access to a dip bar. I could do dips in the corner of a kitchen countertop.
Exactly.
I used to do that when I lived with my mum. And I mean, I personally don't like decline presses. I find like I just don't get the kind of range of motion. I don't get the contraction or stretch I would from just doing a flat press. I would just recommend, if you don't have access to a dip bar, just do flat presses. Like that hits the chest's entirety.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to build a good chest. If you have a bar or a pair of dumbbells, that's all you need.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
That's right.
You don't need this abundance of equipment or crazy exercises. Just give it the same intensity you would say if you only had access to a flat bench and a bar, then I would say do even upward of 10 sets of a flat press followed by some dumbbell flies, and you can make significant progress off that.
Mm-hmm. Correct. With your dips, are you doing just body weight or with actual weight attached?
I used to do with weight attached, and lately I haven't at all, because I usually do dips after I've done an incline and a flat press. So I do dips. Dips is usually my third of 4 exercises, and I do my dips body weight. I don't add any additional weight, but my range of motion is quite extensive. I go all the way down. All the way down. When I come up, I really squeeze. I hold the contraction. I remember seeing a video of Lee Priest doing dips, and I thought he was on a dip machine. That's how fluid his dips were. He had so much strength that he could press his own weight with that much ease. And I always wanted to try achieving that. And I thought the answer was adding weight to my dips, in order to get more control. But once I stopped adding weight via like a dumbbell or weight belt, I think I get more out of my dips now.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you would, because you got
add any additional weight.
A full range of motion. So
yeah, definitely.
Do you drink coffee? And what are your thoughts on intermittent fasting?
Well, I don't fast. I don't have an opinion on it because I don't know enough about it. So I'm not going to pretend like I know anything on it. And I do drink coffee. I try and limit it really to one a day if I can. Just one black coffee is what I'll have at the moment. It's usually in the morning before my first workout.
Yeah.
I usually have enough. In the afternoon, for some reason, I usually have more energy. So I don't feel like I need anything. I don't need an energy kick in the afternoon.
That makes sense. Yeah. You've got food in your system, so.
Yeah, had, an additional 4 meals or so. So.
Exactly. Do you drink much water in the day?
What's that, sorry?
Water. much water? Like you see some guys drinking gallons of water in a day. Do you drink much water in a day?
Yeah, I think I drink a fair bit. I usually have with every meal. So say I eat 5 or 6 times a day. With every one of those meals, even if it's a shake, I usually have like 1 to 2 large glasses of water. Trying to guess how much water approximately in the entire day I'd eat. It's hard to say. But yeah, so say if I'm having 6 meals, that could be 12 large glasses of water. So it is a decent amount of water I'm drinking.
It's about 1.5 liters.
What's that, sorry?
No, 12. It's more like 3 liters, actually. Yeah, it's more like 3 liters.
Oh, I think it would be even be like upward of 4 liters.
Yeah, 3 or 4 liters.
Yeah. Sorry, 1 second. I'm about to eat.
All right. Last question then.
We can keep talking.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll show the viewers what it is I'm having right now. Can I turn this around?
Absolutely, man. Go for it.
So here we've got probably about maybe 8 egg whites and 2 whole eggs, a whole tomato, and quite a small baked potato.
There you go. Meal that makes muscles.
I'm having this. I'll have a bit of salt too. I'm going to have this before I train again tonight.
Cool.
I don't have like a crazy amount of carbs actually. It's a pretty low carb diet. Just enough.
Yeah. This person asks, how strong are you in the bench, deadlift, and squat?
I don't deadlift at all. If I do, it's a straight leg deadlift, which I do like doing for hamstrings.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't do conventional deadlifts ever. There's no particular reason. I never got into doing it, and I didn't, see the benefit in doing it for the goals that it is I'd set for myself. It's definitely not necessary in building a good physique. That's my belief now, obviously, because I never did it. So I guess I can say that. But squat, it was bench and squat, wasn't it, the other two?
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, I don't squat that heavy. I think really on any given squat session, the most I'll do is maybe 50 kilos a side. In total, 120, 125 kilos. I'm not sure what that is in pounds. It's not very heavy. You see some guys are doing 4 or 5 plates a side. That's definitely not me.
Mm-hmm.
I do two plates a side, 2 or 3 max. Not much. And I bench roughly around the same amount of weights that I squat actually. So I could do around, if I'm feeling particularly strong that session, I could do 110 to 120 kilos. Most sessions I'll go up to only around 100 kilos on my last working set.
Yeah.
So again, it's not very heavy.
Yeah, it's not weight. Now, if you're interested in purchasing Joel and Brox's ebooks, please visit www.morethanmuscle.com.au where you'll find ebooks on the following body parts: biceps, chest, back, legs, and I think deltas coming soon, as well as their Naturally Transforming the Body ebook, an excellent ebook really detailing the journey of both of these fantastic natural bodybuilders. And of course, they also have an excellent package for nutrition plans and training programs, all available on www.morethanmuscle.com.au. Now, if you're interested in following Joel Kellett on his Instagram, you'll find him under Overkill. That's his actual Instagram account, and you'll find that he's got a real cool page full of nostalgic style photos and films. So if you're a real fan of old school bodybuilding and classic physiques, this is a great Instagram. Overkill is his actual Instagram account, so you can follow him there. Now, if you'd like to learn more about the old school techniques and methods of the silver and golden era champs such as Don Howarth, Steve Reeves, Chuck Sipes, and many more, please visit my website www.goldenerabookworm.com, where you'll find out-of-print books and courses on old school bodybuilding. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this video, this Q&A with Joel, where he addressed many questions, including his diet, his protein shake, his training method, his strength abilities, and his training intensity as well. And yeah, I mean, many of the questions that the audience wished him to address. I want to thank Joel again. Thank you, Joel, for being so generous with your time and your honesty in answering all questions. And for the audience as well, there will be a second Q&A video coming up soon on this channel, where Joel Kellett actually specifically addresses his training routine in much greater detail. He actually goes through all the exercises in his split. And of course, he will also be addressing many other questions and from you, the audience. So if you wish to follow Joel, please go to Instagram, and his handle there is Overkill. And if you wish to find out more about his recommendations for training, he's got some excellent ebooks out on legs, chest, arms, back. He's got a fantastic book. I really enjoy the book called Naturally Transforming. I think it's an excellent book, especially for all natural bodybuilders who wish to follow the natural path of bodybuilding. And he also has custom training programs and nutritional programs where he will also follow up and make sure that you can be successful in your bodybuilding journey. All available on his website, morethanmuscle.com.au. Once again, hope you've enjoyed this Q&A with Joel. More coming up soon on the Golden Era Bookworm. This is the Golden Era Bookworm. Bye for now.